Hey everybody, my Scribian is here. Another episode that I prepared for all my followers. Very excited for today. But before I introduce my special guest for today, I want to thank everybody who's following this channel. In this channel, we talk mainly about finances, how to become better financially, how to improve your finances, and on a long run, how to build security for yourself, for your family. And many times I have special guests in my podcast, and today is one of them. I'm very excited to introduce my guest for today. I know this gentleman for many, many years. And matter of fact, when I was new in an insurance business, he's one of the guys that really teach me a lot of the secrets in this business, how to grow and how to build the customer base and how to build your business, your mindset. So I'm very honored to have him today with me, and my guest is Sarkis Shirinyan. Sarkis, how are you?
Good, Mice. How are you? Thank you
Good.
for having me.
Oh man, I'm excited to talk with you today in a podcast and discuss many topics today. How's your day going?
Good, Mice. Good. Thank you for having me. Actually, I'm very proud of you. We're about the same age, right? I've known you for about 25
just a year difference, right?
I've known you for 25 years.
Oh my God!
And
can you believe it?
It's an amazing. I'm glad you are succeeding.
Yeah.
And that was our goal. And I love seeing people succeed and helping people, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we used to do, and now that's what you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, Sarkis, it's an honor for me to have you. We kept the friendship and the connection until now, and I'm happy. Life is interesting. Like you said, 25 years ago. That's why one thing I learned in business: never, destroy any relationships. Keep the respect, and you never know how life gonna change. So, how you been? What you been up to?
Well, being great. Of course, when you said keep relationships, because that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people think about money and they think about what to get out of you, right? But they forget about the relationship, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
100%. Is keeping those, not burning your bridges.
Yeah.
Because if you burn, why do you want to burn bridges?
Yeah.
Because that is the key in everything, because now we have 25 years.
Yeah.
We still can sit together, remember what we did,
and
enjoy
it's amazing.
it,
Good
right?
memories. We had a lot of good memories.
Exactly, So amazing time we had.
Earlier, we were talking about, when I was new in the business, you guys wanted to get rid of me. I still don't know why. Why you guys? But I stick around, so.
Yeah, I don't know either, because, you were too young.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing that you had in you, and I think maybe a lot of people should be doing that. When there's a lot of the younger kids now, they get everything handed to them, right? And they don't feel or see the value. But, you saw the value. And maybe, in a way, even though it was bad, right? But in a way, it might have been good because you saw the value.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we put more of that aggressiveness in you, right? So I think that could help, because everything, and I tell people, everything, even bad or good, that creates you.
Yeah.
100%. People think everything is all flowers and nice and all the stuff,
It's not. Sarkis, I guess my first question, I want to start from that topic. Why people quit so fast, man? What do you learn?
Quitting so fast. We've been in the insurance industry for how many years? A lot of years. 25 years.
Mine is going to be 23 years this year. Yours probably a lot longer, maybe 2-3 years longer. Yeah. But you have a big history in the industry. Yeah. So what do you learn? Why people quit so fast?
They don't see, what they come in.
Yeah.
They come in and they think they're going to make amazing money right away, right?
Yeah.
There's two different people.
Yeah.
One that comes in and expects the world.
Yeah.
Or they might have seen something. They think, let's say you are making 20, 30, 40 a month.
Yeah.
They're like, what, if I can make it too. And then they come in and they don't see that. Because they don't know that you worked on yourself for 10 years, 5 years, 6 years to get to where you are.
Yeah.
But they want to do it in a month. They want to do it in 2 months. And they don't see the results in 2 months. They're like, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
Give you an example. I have a person that we were hiring.
Yeah.
She's doing the tests.
Yeah.
she texts me over the weekend, and I text her.
This is recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I text her. I say, hey, what's going on? Do you need help? You're doing your 52 hours or whatever,
Yeah.
And she talks about, I don't think this is for me. I don't think I can do this, especially with the economy being this bad, or this is this and this.
How old is she?
She is in her 40s.
Okay.
You know what I mean? She's not a youngster.
Yeah.
But she's talking about, I don't know how about the industry. I said, listen, when the industry is bad, it's good.
It's good. It's good for those who stick around.
Yeah. And it filters, in the PNC side, for example.
Yeah.
Last 3 years, a lot of agents went out. And people that stayed, once the market opens up again,
they made more money.
They make more money. Because now there's less competitive.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So quitting is, I think most importantly, quitting, they don't see the value.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not in the market. They don't see, I think they don't value themselves.
It's a belief issue towards themselves. So now, what about this? We're Armenians, and I always heard this. Not everyone can be a singer, for example.
Yeah.
Can everyone be a businessman?
Absolutely. Because, I tell people this, when they come to me too, or even anybody.
Yeah.
I said, the most profitable, I think, or the most, is if you see the most successful people are what? Salespeople.
Yeah.
Right? They're giving something.
Yeah.
But, they say, well, I'm not a good salesman.
Yeah.
I said, you sell yourself every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you go to the employee. When you get a job, what do?
You sell yourself.
At an interview, you're doing all the crap that you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So you tell them everything, you make up stuff. They're like, have you done this? They'll be like, yeah, I've done this. But, that they haven't done it. It's just they're making it up. Why? Because you want to sell yourself to get hired.
Yeah.
You're getting married. What do? You
got to sell yourself again.
You're a salesman, right? So everybody is a naturally sales. When you were a kid, what did you do? You sold your. My son sells me on every toy that there is, and I buy it because I don't know how I do it. But at the end of the day, I spend that money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how the hell did I buy this? I said I'd know like 16 times, right? So you're naturally a salesperson, so that's the thing, and everybody can be a business person.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Sarkis, me and you go long time in the industry. I think throughout the years you develop different mindset when it comes to business. And a lot of people, like you mentioned, were there when they come new into sales or in the business world, they always focus on outside, economy, president, changes, what's going on in the industries. Like, eventually, these people need to understand outside reflects your success probably 5%. 95% it's you, your beliefs, your work ethics. How do you change that in you? Did you used to believe that yes, it's outside economy reflects your business, or you came to a conclusion it's end of the day it's up to you, no matter what's going on outside?
Yeah, I mean, you can do two things.
Yeah,
right. One, you can blame it do nothing.
Yeah,
you say, hey, you know what? It's not busy. The economy's bad. People are not getting sick. They don't need insurance. They don't need this. They don't need that. The second one, you adopt.
Okay.
And you see how you can go around it.
Okay.
And what services you have that fits what they are. Like during the pandemic we were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was talking to people and I said, listen, your life can change within a dime.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to be prepared.
Yeah.
Look at how many people are passing away. Imagine if they had insurance or not.
Yeah.
Now,
and that scared people to make action about it. Yeah.
So that's an outside force that you take advantage of, right?
Yeah.
And then let's say if the economy is negative or it's on a downside, which we are not in a downside. Everybody's talking about those negatives, but
there's a lot of activities out there. People are buying. It's crazy.
When is it good to buy? Is when it's cheaper. For example, my wife even, when her 401ks, she's like, oh my God, my 401ks are going. I'm like, that's great. That's amazing. And she's like, are you crazy? What do you mean it's crazy? I lost this much money on it.
Yeah.
I said, well, yeah, that is good. She's like, how is that good?
Because it's cheap to buy.
Exactly. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, are you retired? No. Are you going to retire tomorrow? No. Then what are you worried about? That's not your money anyways right now. That's for the future, right? So you have to close your eyes. So what I do is I put blinders on.
Yeah.
I just do what I do, and adopt, especially when you have multiple different streams, which is important, right? Let's say in the insurance industry with me, we have the PNC business and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
One side stalls up, the other side is going up.
Yeah.
So it's kind
of
like,
balances each other.
And that's how I adopted to bad times.
Yeah.
And people don't do that.
But the key is you didn't quit.
No.
People who, even not just our insurance business, let's take real estate, let's take any field. When people stick around, they make more money.
Yeah.
And
because people see it, right? Let's say I have people that change jobs.
Yeah.
Like literally every year you talk to them, they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm in the car business. I'm in this business. Now I'm doing chocolates." And then and then we'd be like random changes. Random changes.
You lose trust by doing that also.
Yeah. And what are you going to call that guy for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
when I was young, I did stuff like that. I remember. And then when you grow older, eventually you're like, you know what? No, gotta choose one path and become a pro at it. So and just go all the way to the highest level possible.
I remember those days.
Yeah.
I used to say, why is focus? But you know what? You have to do that. Sometimes when you're right? When you're younger, you have to, sometimes it's good to do that when you're young.
Yeah.
Not when you've grown, right? Because you have to have consistency at one period of time.
Yeah.
And when you're young, you can risk everything because people don't take you as much as serious as at one point in time, right? Let's say if you're doing that, they'll be like, dude, this guy is a grown man and he's doing like 20,000 type of things, right?
Yeah.
But when you're younger, nobody cares at that point. Nobody's looking at you like with a microscope, right?
Yeah.
And it's good because then you find where you want to be.
Yeah.
And that's what you did.
Yeah.
You went around in circles and circles and circles and then came to, again, insurance.
Yeah.
And now doing what you're doing now.
Yeah. Now, Sarkis, I know you have one son. How old is he now?
He's 10. He just turned 10. We just came from San Francisco.
You think he's going to follow your footsteps, becoming a business person, or?
Honestly, I don't care.
You want to let him choose?
Whatever he wants to do. I always say my job, or as a parent, right?
Yeah.
Parents' job is not to decide what they want to do.
Just be a good example.
That's it. I only have one rule.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs, and don't be a horrible person, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. That's what we're here for, right? Like as parents, I looked at some of the other podcasters and so on and so forth. They're talking about parenting. Yeah. Some parents are like, "Oh, I brought you in this world. You're supposed to support me. Or what you have, you owe me," right?
Which is so wrong. And it's, sorry to say, it's kind of common in our culture.
Yeah.
Which is raising wrong way in a kid. They start believing wrong, and that root can go so deep, and they can live all their life believing that way. And they start changing after 40 if they change, but all the damage has been done already. So
you regret listening to certain people.
Yeah.
Because they were not a good influence.
Yeah.
A lot of people told me to quit this, quit that, quit this. But I always made money.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is a lot of parents, that try to control the path of their kids.
Yeah.
Yes, it's because of, I will say it's not because they're just trying to be mean or they're trying to.
A lot of times they don't know.
Exactly. It's just they want to protect them, but they don't know that they're not protecting them. They're actually hurting them by choosing. Because you know what? If, let's say, you force your kids to do, to do insurance.
Yeah.
They might do it,
but
they might not make money, or they might quit, or they might hate what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. That's why, I believe Sarkis' personal development is very important. I'm a big believer of that. And I think, me reading a lot of books and following a lot of successful people, I know I have a lot of weaknesses, but what I did, I said, you know what? Okay, what I'm good at, I focused on that, became very disciplined, start reading, learning, and I see the changes in my life. And a lot of people don't grow. Like they think they have a high school diploma about life, and they age, but they never go college degree in a sense of knowledge or university. How can your life change if you don't grow your mindset? What do you think about that?
No, that's 100%, my son, on the point.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, education, they misrepresent education, right? Or we think somebody's educated in a way that, you know what, this guy has a PhD.
Yeah.
That has, we've seen in our business people with PhDs, right? What were
Most
they doing?
of them don't make money.
Exactly. What were they doing? Even they were in the industry, and they were like historians, this, that, and useless. Because if you're not using that, and a lot of times these people are not even smart. It's just they're good memory.
And they overanalyze everything.
Yep.
They find all the reasons why it's not going to work.
Exactly. Because they say, the smarter you are, the worse it is for you sometimes in business.
And it's harder.
Because you overanalyze. Sometimes I do that too. I go, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? That's what I love about you, is you jump.
Yeah.
And you figure it out. That's one of the good things when, I think maybe at those days we used to say, just do it, just do it, just do it. But we didn't take that advice as much as you did, right? And then you implemented that, right?
I went to a seminar now, you said that, I remember, Millionaire's Mind. And one of the courses they teach is like, most people aim, then they shoot. But you should shoot and then aim later.
Yeah.
You fix it later.
Exactly.
And it's
because if you don't shoot, how are you going to be able to learn how to aim?
Yeah.
Right? You got to actually shoot.
Yeah.
It's like practice over reading, right? If you read it and you don't implement it, what happens?
100%.
It's like, imagine, let's say you, and I always say it in this manner, I say, imagine if you read about riding a bike, right? Or you read all the books about riding a bike, how to do it, what's the pedals.
Or swimming pool.
Or like about swimming, how to keep, but you haven't even been in the water. You haven't even been on a bike.
Yeah.
So once you go on a bike, how do you teach your kid to ride a bike? You don't sit him down and teach him all the books. He get on it, boom.
Go fail a few times, you'll learn.
Exactly. And that's the failures are the ones that actually teaches you more.
The most valuable lessons we learn from our failures. Now, as much as I remember you, many years we worked together, same office. One of the good things you were very good at is in a business, getting so much referrals. Now, what's your secret on that? And I know you're not big time promoter on social media. More, 90+%, or maybe even more, 95% of all your business. And back in the days, if I go back, let's say 20 years, right? Social media was not around that much. And I remember you had back-to-back appointments. How do you generate so much referrals, and what was your secret, I guess?
The way I work, and a lot of people, even when I get agents, right, and they talk about, we need leads, we need that. I said, listen, those are all bad. Yeah, there's leads, but then you have to call 100, 200 people.
Yeah.
Instead of spending 200 people calling 200 people. Yeah. Well, with referrals, there is different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
One is buying as far as leads.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The other one is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You go to a person's house, you give them the best service.
Yeah.
And a lot of my clients have my cell phone. None of them have an office number. I've never had, I used to have offices, most of the time I wasn't even there, and
That's a personal touch, bottom line.
Every time. I have people call me. Yesterday, it was, not yesterday, but on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Which is Easter.
Yeah.
I had a client at 9 p.m. And I was in San Francisco with my son's birthday. And they texted me saying, "Can you please process the payment?" Because I was doing an auto insurance.
Yeah.
And I had to do it at 8 p.m. And if they, otherwise they had to wait until Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
And I take care of my clients. It's 5
little
minutes.
things like that makes a big difference. Yeah.
And people appreciate that. And when you do things like that, they automatically send you 1 or 2 clients.
Yeah.
And 1 or 2 clients translates to, and now
10, 20. Just repeat the cycle, bottom line.
Most of my clients come in, and a lot of times people say, you know what, you got to have to go fishing.
Yeah.
I don't fish. The fish just comes in. It's like it's a different cycle, right?
Yeah,
because now I'm not fishing because I've done enough. Because you've been in the business for a long time, and I get at least 5-6 referrals a month. A week.
A week. Okay.
And just on that, and then of course, I meet people. And then that becomes
you prospect as you go. We always say that.
Exactly. I don't force it because I've never been generic.
Yeah.
I've always been tailored to what it is, and I don't like cold calling.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my things. And people say, how the hell do you survive if you don't do cold calling? I said, I've never done it.
Yeah.
Because I just never needed to do it.
Yeah.
Because when you get referrals, why do you have to sit there and calling 200 people where 2-3 people call you a day, 2 people
and it's
call
one
you
of the best systems to generate business. Now, Sarkis, so I love asking this question, and I believe most of the guests that I ask. And the reason I do it is because there's so much wisdom you get out of this question from the guests that they share their experience. So if today's Sarkis, goes back and advises Sarkis when you were 18, what would you tell him?
Honestly, I don't think I will change anything.
Really?
Because the reason why I say this is because everything that you changed in the past will not lead you to where you are now. Good or bad.
But in a sense, advice was what you learned that you would say, you know what, I wish I did this earlier, I guess.
Don't listen to people.
Wow. That's a good one.
Do what you want to do. Continue on the same path. Listen less, do more. It sounds crazy, right? But a lot of times we listen to the wrong people, wrong advice. People that might have kind of changed your trajectory, right? Or you might have thought, oh, this guy wants the best of you. But then you find out that they're actually...
That's not the case. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people, honestly, that don't want the best in you. They smile.
You got to filter them out correctly,
exactly.
huh?
And sometimes you can't because the snakes are, they're good at what they do, right? Yeah. Because they're professional snakes, right? Or cancers, I say. Yeah. Because, sometimes they're good agents or they're good part of your life. But then that, like sometimes they say, from darkness comes light. From light comes darkness, right? Yeah. Afterwards. So every evil deed has a good thing in it, and every good thing has an evil deed in it, right? Yeah. So it's just both of them could be true, right? Yeah. So sometimes the people that you think are behind you are the ones that actually trip you. Yeah. And you know what I mean? So it's very hard to know, but that's I think that's one of the things, and just trusting people too much.
Yeah. I guess you got to have good filters, and good filters comes from some bad experiences.
Absolutely.
That's why I look at bad experiences in a very positive way. That's what you kind of sharp yourself, and you're like, hey, where did I messed it up? What I learned from this, and how can I make it better next time?
Absolutely. It's like falling, right? If you fail once,
you
know what not to do. Yeah. Like your kids too, if they have never fallen. Like sometimes my kid will play baseball in the backyard and he has a scratch. I don't run to him. I'm like, get over it. You know what I mean? Because they have to get over the pain. Yeah. Then sometimes he runs to mom, put some Band-Aid on. I'm like, dude, that's not a Band-Aid thing. You should have seen us when we were younger. We were bleeding and we're still playing, But that's the thing. It's just failures are...
Yeah. It's a process. Yeah. Yeah. Now, Sarkis, how do you? I remember, we used to plan every year our goals. Do you still do planning beginning of the year, or how do you do that, or is that part of your business mindset?
You'd be surprised.
Yeah,
I used to. And I used to sit there and dissect everything. Yeah, and I felt like life. Yeah. When you come to a certain place, and you go through so many pains and so many things that you go through your life, and then you say, you know what, life is too short. Yeah. Yes, I do plan it, right? Yeah. I know what I want to get to and what I want to hit, right? Yeah, yeah. But I don't do it as detailed as we used to. Remember, we used to do the trainings.
So you focus on more present living.
More present today. The last 10 years, especially when my son was born, I focused on him more than business. Yes, business is coming.
That's a good example.
Because I said, you know what? Yeah, the money is good. Because, we're in insurance, and I always, I was one of this seminars, Van Mueller. I don't know if you heard of him. He does a lot of good annuity. If you want, I can give you the link. And
just to watch.
It's really good. He's good on annuities and stuff. Older guy, multimillionaire.
Yeah.
And he says, spend everything you have on you when you're alive.
Wow, that's a good one.
Leave the insurance money to your kids. Because why you want to leave cash to your kids, right?
Yeah.
And that's what he said, and that's what I took. And I said, you know what? That is interesting, right? Because we hoard. We save money. Yeah, we need to save money. But there's people that I know that they save every penny, right? They might not even do anything in their life. I know people that haven't done a single thing in their life, but they're millionaires. But they have nothing, no kids, no family.
Kind of pointless.
It's pointless, right? What are you going to do with that money? And he said, you know what? Spend that money on yourself. Enjoy your day, enjoy your moment, enjoy your kids, enjoy your family, do things. And when you pass away, that's what life insurance is for. Get as much as life insurance as possible.
Yeah.
When you die, they have money.
Yeah.
But then you enjoyed your money.
Yeah.
Because your kids are not going to, you don't know what they're going to do. You can give it to your kid. Let's say your kids, you don't know what they're going to spend the money on.
Yeah.
Your son, let's say you gave money to your son, $1 million. He might go just buy a car. So you don't know. Everybody's different, right? You're not there to control it.
Yeah. What you just told me, it's kind of opened up another point of view for me to look at my life and do some adjustments too. That is true. You gotta learn how to value yourself too.
Yeah.
Very important.
Because, the reason why I say this is, the valuing your time is when you lose people. How much money would you give to get those people back? You lose everything.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say if somebody lost a parent, a dad, a mom.
Yeah.
If you ask that person, will they give up their old man money or the money they have?
Absolutely.
For 1 minute?
Yeah.
How many of them will say no?
Yeah.
So money has no value. The time you have with those people has value.
Those memories you create.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even if you're a billionaire, look at all this billionaire. Yeah, they have money, but their homes are broken. Their families are broken. They're divorced 6 times. They don't trust anybody they meet, right? Yeah. Their wives, they take half of their money, right?
Yeah.
But both of them are not happy. The kids are not happy because now they're seeing their parents broken up. They hate each other. They're like, how can I find somebody?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, based on that, do you believe in living a balanced life?
It has to be a balance. I think if you don't have a balance, then what happens? You get an imbalance.
Yeah.
If you're in balance, you're hurting. Even if you're poor, you're hurting.
Because I heard some people say, everything doesn't have to be perfect. Don't focus on too much, having everything balanced. But I agree a little bit, but disagree most of the time. I believe in having a balanced life. I believe in that.
Balance meaning what balance means? People think balance is perfection.
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
Balance is imperfection, right?
Yeah.
I always tell people, I said, listen, you're not perfect. You will never be perfect.
Yeah.
And no matter, ask a person that's 95 years old. Say, were you perfect? Are you perfect? What will they tell you?
No.
It took them 95 years. How can you be? If people lived, we've been living here thousands of years. 100,000 maybe, 20, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And are we still perfect?
No.
So how do you expect, if humanity hasn't been perfected itself for the last 10,000 years, 20,000 years, how can we perfect ourselves in the last 100 years or 50 years or 60 years?
Yeah, good point.
So that's the perfect way to actually lose yourself, because now sometimes I myself, I'm a perfectionist, and I lose a lot of things because of that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, okay, this is not working with the way I want it to. Maybe I should do something because I'm not, you know what I mean? It's just you expect too much.
Yeah.
Which is again imbalances.
Yeah, yeah.
But I will say, when we talk about balance, is having a balanced life, meaning like balanced family life, balanced work, balanced enjoyment, right? Because if you enjoy too much, what happens? Let's say if you're partying all the time, drinking 5 days a week, that's not a balance.
Got it.
You know, if you're spending with your family too much, then you're not making money. Then if you're working too much at your work,
your family gets apart.
Exactly.
Now, I guess one of maybe the last question that I want to ask is, with all this experience, and a lot of people are going to watch this, what would you advise, especially the young people? What would you tell them? Hey, you know what? This is important. This is important.
I'm not that old.
But, your experience is good enough to, give some advice to
as far
youngsters.
as in the business?
Let's go with the business. Business and some life advices that you'll learn in your life.
Well, I'm still learning in life.
That's a good one. I like that.
Awesome. Because I have no answers. How can I have answers? Nobody has answers.
But I'm sure you have some. Why don't you share it?
Because, like people for me, let's say, for example, if the business, right? In life, I will say I'm not an expert in life as far as, what they can change. Because everyone has a different life, right? Different goals. But as far as business-wise, number one, I think is sticking to what you want to do. And again, don't listen too much from the outside sources. Let's say the noise from I say, no, there's a lot of noise. The market is not good. The industry is not good. This is not good. I can't put this much time. Like, like some people say, I don't want to work with my family. Right? There's a big one. Like when we get angels, it's like, I don't want to touch my family. I don't want them to do. And, again, that's one of the most, I think most people make mistakes there. Is not working with their family. Because when I started and you started, we worked with a lot of our family. And what happened is because those families are now giving us referrals.
Absolutely.
The war markets. And if your family doesn't trust you, and if you don't trust your own family, then
that's a big problem.
How can any client trust you? And that's one of the biggest thing. And just build trust with people. Don't do it for the money. Because if you are in this industry for the money, you will never make money. I always say, when people run after money, and when we run after money, what happens?
Money runs away.
Yep, it runs faster, right? And it's like you're just chasing money. And once everything is filled, and all of a sudden people are calling you, you're like, man, where were you 3 months ago? Where were you 2 months ago? When I had a I had a nickel, I had I was barely paying this or that. And where were you guys at that time? But, now they're like handing you money. And they're saying, you know what, please, let's write insurance, write this business, write this, right? Because now you're doing it because what? Now you're not doing it for the money. You have the money in your pocket. Now you're doing it because you love what you do. And that's what shows. I said, you know what, love what you do. And of course, it has to be logical, right? If let's say if it's not insurance, you cannot just go and sell air because you love air, right? And some people actually made money doing that, But you got to love what you do, man. And everything else, I think, comes with education. Learn the business. Anything you do, just
think long term. Always.
You can know everything, but you don't have to share everything. And sometimes people want to learn before they do anything. I say, you know what, do it, and you will learn throughout your time. So I think that's pretty much my. That's what I will advise, and I do advise people like today when they come into business. I say, listen, don't learn and they're like, I want to learn everything about the product. I said, listen, I don't even know about everything about the product. Like, what do you mean? I say, because it changes all the time, And I learn something new every time, And I said, listen, go make the appointment. You will learn. You might screw up, but you know what? When you look at how much you lost, guess what you're not going to do next time.
Repeat it.
Exactly. So that's about it.
Cool. Well, Sarkis, thank you again for your time. I had a great conversation. I took some mental notes, what we talked about, and hopefully we will do some more podcasts together in the future. And I'm looking forward if you invite me to yours. So.
Likewise, Miles. No, you're always welcome, man. You in my book, You're always welcome. I've always answered your call. You answered my calls.
Yeah.
And I think probably when we're much older, right? You can't catch up onto me on that. Right? So
let's see who's gonna be grandpa for it.
Exactly, probably you. But but I really enjoyed this, and I wish you all the best, Mike.
Thank you.
Everything in the world, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And I hope you one day, when we sit together like this, you have like 6 million followers and stuff like that.
Well, so I'm gonna,
I'm sure you will have it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that, and I think we just create another great memory together. And Absolutely. I think life is all about great moments, great memories. And thank you again for your time. And thank you. I never forget where I came from. When I was new in a business, I don't forget that you spent time with me, taught me, motivated me. So we always gotta remember the past in a good way too. So thank you for Absolutely. That. I want to thank you for all your time, and we're looking forward to do more podcasts together.
Thank you,
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Please share this episode in your pages, and any questions, get hold of me, get hold of Sarkis. I'll see you guys next time. Take care, and bye-bye.